Good afternoon, everybody. Dave in Kentucky here, and going to do a quick video. Hopefully, a quick video. Anyway, first video in doing a review on the Carbon Razor. This is peeled, but it's been around the country on a pass around and came to me with all four plates. So the first one I did a shave video, and I used an auxiliary microphone that was junk from eBay and actually made things worse. So again, my apologies for that. I've had shaves with the other three plates since then, and had several people request that I do a overall video review of the razor and the plates. I have it all written up there on Damn Fine Shave, as well as over on the Shave Den. The pass around was put on by Damn Fine Shave, but those are the two forums I'm on and where information is posted about each shave individually. I hate to do one at the end like this now, because I've slept since then. But anyway, I'll try to run you through the four plates. First, I pulled up off of their website what they say about each of the ones. They have their original base plate, and it says, "This is our current design configuration. It's still my personal favorite and has a 0.68 millimeter with positive blade exposure. This design offers a lot of user control with positive blade exposure. For a milder shave, you can change the angle or ride the cap for sensitive parts like the neck. For other areas, you can still have a good amount of efficiency." Then they have their minus base plate, which is the newest one, but their mildest one. It's a 0.71 blade gap. It says, "If you have sensitive skin, prefer less blade feel, have a fine hair, or just enjoy a mild shave, this is the one. Head shavers have enjoyed this one. It's the least blade exposure and a 7.1 blade gap." So then they have a plus and a plus plus. Let me read what they say about the plus base plate. "We reduced the blade exposure and increased the gap to 0.88 millimeters. This is a nice option if you only shave every 2 to 3 days, as the larger gap allows for this. Early feedback has been positive for those that prefer less blade exposure but enjoy the efficiency of a larger gap." So this just takes out of consideration the minus base plate, which is the last one that came out. This is off of their original, which has a good amount of blade exposure, a 6.8 millimeter gap, and they've reduced it slightly, the exposure, and went up in gap. They did the same thing again when they went to the plus plus, which says, "This one is for those who like a very efficient option. This plate is still with positive blade exposure, but has less exposure than the plus base plate. This razor has a larger 1.08 millimeter gap. If you have thick hair and shave every 4 to 5 days, or just like an efficient razor, this would be the one." So those are not my comments. Those are right from their website and what they're saying about each of those blade gaps. Here was my experience. Trying to remember, I started out with the mild one because I had heard about the 6.8. It didn't make sense to me that the 6.8's got the most blade exposure. You would think you would go up in gap and increase exposure as you're going, but for whatever reason, this is the direction they've taken along the progression of what they were doing. So I started with the mild, the 0.71, and I forget if it was negative or little, if anything. I don't think it had any blade exposure, they said. Let me look. That's why I like doing each one as I'm actually shaving with it and have the information in my head. It just says least blade exposure, so there's still some. My experience with the 0.71, very mild, very smooth shave. It was okay, but I had way more beard growth sooner than I normally would. I would even prefer the H&S NO75, which is a neutral blade exposure. I can get a better shave with that than I did with the carbon negative. So from there, I went to the plus plate. And so that took it to a 0.88 millimeter gap, and less exposure though than their 6.8, but it had more exposure than obviously the 7.1, which was nearly neutral. I got a nice shave with it, very comfortable. The shave lasted a long time. I just felt that comparing it to my favorite right now, which is the Yates with the H um, plate, the Yates Precision razor. That one to me is just the smoothest and most efficient razor that I've used. And it was just as good as my 2020 Paradigm Diamondback, which I sold so that I was holding on to the Yates. So finished with the plus plate. Again, nice shave, but actually was feeling a little raw. Not raw, but you know, you felt the extra aggression there. Was going to go to the plus plus, but was requested I do the 6/8. So I went to the 6/8. Smooth shave, nice shave. Um, I did feel raw this morning after that shave yesterday. And with the extra blade exposure and the clamp where it is on the razor, a good bit back, and the blade sticking out there, it has flex in it, as I said in my video. I prefer a much more rigidly held one, whether it's a closer clamp closer to the edge of the blade, or it's the curvature that they have the blade, whatever. The Yates just seems to work for me. That doesn't mean anything I'm saying isn't going to work for you. I'm just giving you my impressions of how it worked for me. I don't have Kevlar whiskers, but they're obviously maybe not as dense a growth, but the whiskers themselves are pretty staunch. And so when there's too much blade there, there's give in it, and I can feel that, especially on the against the grain pass. It's why I don't care for ones like the Progress, the Merkur that everyone loves. Anyhow, that's just me. I like a much more rigidly held blade. So went with the 6/8. That was the experience with that one. This morning I noticed, yes, it was feeling more raw. Going to the plus plus plate. Overall, that was my favorite plate out of all of them. Even with the rawness I was feeling from the yesterday's shave, I got a very close, comfortable shave. But again, when I got to the against the grain pass, it was resistance. And I had to go slow because I could feel that it was going to, without extensive skin stretching, to make sure skin could fold and the blade has give in it and it's going to bite you. So didn't have any issues with it. I think I had one right here that sealed up almost immediately after the shave. You can see because that was this morning. But anyway, that was my overall impressions on it. The razor itself is an absolutely beautiful razor. As I mentioned, the tabs stick out just slightly on either side of a blade. If that's an issue for you, if you're a head shaver, you're worried about hitting your ear or something, it sticks out a little. That wasn't an issue for me. Again, very attractive razor. This is the original, the 6/8, their original one. It's got nice, probably can't pick it up on there, but laser etching on it, information on the bottom. Machined in the USA, carbon logo, 2020, 316L steel. So the handle itself, nice heft, beautiful balance. You can see that where they have it in on their website. They're balancing it on a rock or whatever. Nice balance to it. This area in here where it narrows, I would find myself slipping there because it's such a wide spot. You know, I've never really paid attention or cared about handles. I love the look of this one. Would I mind having it? No, not at all. But that was just something that kind of caught me off guard a few times, and I've never had issues with the handle before. Extremely attractive, extremely well machined, a great company to deal with. It could be the perfect razor for you. It just wasn't for me. Would I like to have one? Sure. Am I, after using it, feeling the need that I have to get one? And probably not. Just because I have others that I prefer, especially the Yates Precision razor. And it's at a fraction of the cost of this one too. Now mind you, it doesn't have the polish finish that this one does. They do have an electro polish Yates, $145. This is $100 more than that. So It's a beautiful razor. Again, I don't know what else to say about it. I thank the company Carbon for doing the pass around, and Damn Fine Shave for sponsoring it as well. I love the opportunity to be able to try it. If I came across one on the buy sell trade for the right price, I'd grab it. If thinking about the way I described those different plates, how they felt to me versus what they had described to me, the plus plus saying if you have to have 4 or 5 days growth, I'm a daily shaver. The plus plus would be a perfect daily shaver as far as I'm concerned. I just had to be careful on that against the grain pass because of the blade and how my whiskers react to one that's not clamped closer to the end. Other people might think it's the dream razor. I know there's others, Jim on the 30 DC crew on the Shave Den. Shout out to the crew there, bunch of crazy guys. It's one of his favorites, if not his go-to, I think. So that just shows you what's great for one person may not be for the other. Doesn't mean it's a bad razor. It's just not the perfect one for them. Crazy hobby. We keep seeking after we find a really good razor. We feel the need to keep looking, right? Well, that's my take on the Carbon. Again, I appreciate the pass around and it being done. That's my general thoughts on it. If you have any questions, I'll try to make sure I remember to open up the comments. Feel free to post any questions you have, and I'll try to answer them as honestly as I can. Dave in Kentucky, over on Damn Fine Shave, as well as the Shave Den. We'll see you guys on the pages.